I've got nothing. Hi, kids. Okay, how do we start? This video is for those of you, and I know it's not just me, people out there who are feeling pretty overwhelmed with everything, just like interpersonally and globally. No matter where you are, no matter what age you are, what color you are, uh, whether you have milk in your tea first or hot water first, it don't really matter. Um, whatever country you're from, doesn't matter. Um, it's a kind of a stressful time. It's a trying time, definitely, and it's unlike. Well, that's the thing about life being linear. You know, stuff that comes along, um, really kind of like you think I haven't seen this before, and people probably have. You know, obviously, consult the elderly. They have seen stuff like this before, but every day is a fresh hell of new stuff to deal with. And I, like many other people, especially creative people, and even more especially people with udda hudda, um, we have a thing called executive dysfunction. And that means there is something up in the noggin which gives you, gives me, gives us difficulty with planning and time management and getting things going and basically all the little decision making things in your brain. Uh, Info will be dotted around this video and in links below. Um, so after doing last week's video, which was, if I remember rightly, unboxing the bits for my Marvin kit, which I should be getting on with. Well, there you go. There's the theme for this week's video. I should be getting on with. I have a list of. Sorry, I just woke up. I have a list of stuff to do. I have a to-do list longer than both my arms. So why am I sitting here talking about having lots to do and not doing any of it? Because one of the things about executive dysfunction is the inability to get on with said things. Another way it's been described is decision paralysis. And this comes from the hypothetical setting. You've got a man here with a table of 3 brands of jam, 3 flavors of jam at the fair. And then you've got another man on this table who's got 12 different flavors of jam. It turns out that the man selling only 3 will sell more jars than the 12 flavor man. Why? Because people get decision paralysis. When they're given a very small number of things to choose from, most people are fine and will make a decision. If you give too many choices, people kind of go, it's too much to consider, too many variables, and then they walk away. So it's kind of that. Also, I'm knackered. Great word. If you're not from the UK, and I know quite a lot of my audience isn't from the UK, knackered comes from the term, I guess, the knacker's yard, when a horse would be at the end of its useful life and it would have to go, quite horrendously, boiled down for glue or whatever. The knacker's yard is where, so knackered means I'm very tired in Brit speak, basically. It doesn't mean I'm completely done with my working life. It just means knackered. I'm tired. I'm exhausted. And for the last couple of weeks, I have been doing quite a lot. And this is not whinging, by the way. I'm really grateful that I've got a lot of work to do. And I'll tell you for why in a bit. But I've been, for example, trying to write the first draft of Off-World Survivors. I've recorded a 50,000 word audiobook on Audible, for which I'm not paid, because the way it works is I have to record it, edit it, upload it, get it approved, and then only when it sells do I get a royalty. So it's a bit of a risk. But I finished that a couple of days ago. I'm illustrating 3 books for 3 different authors. And I'm also managing the Imperfect Specimen book, which has gone off to the publishers to be proofread, but I've still got illustrations to do. You know, then there's the set build upstairs for Off-World Survivors. You know, there's stuff like this. There's stuff I promised to do for other people as well, which I can't really talk about. And it's more a case of like, why not get on with it? And then there's the fun stuff. You know, there's the recent Batman fan dub video I did. Thought it would take me 10 minutes. Turns out it took 3 days, because it's not just a case of recording some voices and dubbing them on top of a clip. You've got to remove all the sound off the clip, add a whole new Foley sound and music and stuff. And YouTube rewards me with 3 copyright strikes. Well, they're not copyright strikes. It's just saying, we've noticed you've used copyrighted material here, the video clip, and 3 bits of music. Give us a reason why we should let this stay on YouTube. So I've told them why, because it's just a harmless fan dub. There are many, many like this online, and I'm not claiming ownership or copyright infringement on any. Damn, I've got some Johnny, what's his face, hair. It's like, woof. Sorry, like it or lump it, that's the best we're going to get with it. Should have seen it this morning. Anyway, so yeah, I mean, and the Marvin figure and the Blake 7 guns, these are all like kind of fun things that you could argue, and quite successfully I might add, you could argue that if I wasn't doing the fun stuff, I'd probably get more work out of the way. And much like my mate who phones me at 10 or 11 in the morning, doesn't get an answer and goes, "You're so lazy, you lazy Terry, always sleeping." I was like, what were you doing at 4:30 a.m? Me, I was working. I work a lot. I may not keep the same hours as you 9-to-5ers, but I would say going back to, what was it 2012? It might have been. I'll put the date up here if I'm wrong, and I probably am, because my memory's shot. Basically, I did a section of animated parts. I didn't animate them, I did all the drawings for the animation for a Christmas film on the Welsh Channel 4 called Plien Eira, which means snow feather, about a little kid who drew stuff, and it's sort of his imagination, it comes to life. And I did all the drawings for that, and that really had deadlines and a big pile of work that needed to be done in a short period of time. So I started working up till, you know, until every job was finished that day. So I was finishing at 4 a.m. kind of thing, and then obviously having as much sleep as I could, and then as soon as I wake up, get back to work. And that threw my sleeping pattern out the window, and it hasn't been the same ever since. I'm also cognizant of the fact that I'm very old, and if I do go to sleep, I very rarely sleep for more than 4 hours. Anyway, I did say I was going to come back to something. Yes. I'm very grateful that I've got a lot of work on, because if I haven't got a lot of stuff to do, if I don't have that choice to get paralyzed by, my brain starts going back to the old ways, the dark times before the empire. Depression. Depression never, ever leaves you. You can avoid it. You can feel, as I do, that I've beaten it, because it hasn't finished me off just yet. But if you, it's like the devil having work for idle hands to do, to quote Morrissey. If you ain't doing too much and you ain't thinking too much about important stuff, your brain turns in on itself and it says, "You're a real piece of shit." And then you start realizing that your old friend depression is back.
What a pisser.
So it's good to have a lot of stuff on, for me at least, that people cope in different ways. Your mileage may vary. Um, but on top of, discovering things like executive dysfunction and udda hudda, um, I do almost invariably give myself too much to do, and I take on too much, and I very rarely say no. Excuse me. I should say no, actually, a bit more, but I don't, because I'm constantly in panic mode that I won't be able to pay the rent, the bills, the food, the council tax, all of which are going up this year. Um, a couple of weeks ago, you may remember, I was rather panicky that I woke up with 11 pence in my bank account. Now, admittedly, I don't have mortgages, loans, cars to pay off, hire purchase, things like that. When I get to zero, I've got zero money. I don't have overdraft. I can't get an overdraft. I don't live on benefits. I'm self-sufficient, but I'm not sufficing very well. But yeah, today, in fact, this weekend, today being Sunday as I'm filming this, I was coming up to this weekend thinking, oh, what should I do for my Tuesday video? It could be this, or it could be that, or it could be this. And then your brain was also going, but you've also got lots of work to do, and you've got this to do. And in my brain just went, I got nothing. I got nothing. And I thought, for once, and it doesn't happen very often, I'm going to do nothing this weekend. I'm not going to do any fun build projects. I'm not going to do any day job work, because the last couple of weekends I've been working Saturdays and Sundays, and like I say, very late nights, 4:30, 5 a.m. finishes. And I'm not going to do anything that taxes the old noggin too much. I don't feel the depression coming on, so that's a good thing. So I'm just going to try and relax. I'm going to drink lots of coffee. It's a super nice day. It has been nice weather for the last few days. I should get out there and go for a wee walk today, because I haven't been out of the house. Well, I went out yesterday for like 3 minutes. And yeah, I'm just gonna do nothing today. And I think everyone, it's not lazy. It's not lazy. It's more a case of, people throw around words like self-care. And I guess it's a form of self-care. If you feel you've got too much to do, you've occasionally got to kind of stop, because pushing through it again and again and again and again is just going to wear you down. And I'm pretty burnt out. Let's look at burnout checklist, shall we? So yeah, I would say I'm burnt out, but I have constantly been burning myself out. It's my fault for a long time. And I'm not talking for, since the start of this year. I'm talking for years. I have to push through, because if I don't, there's no one there to pick up the slack. I don't have parents to bail me out. I don't have savings to bail me out. I don't have, you know, some kind of, loans or like I say, that kind of stuff to overdrafts to bail me out. If I don't pay the rent, I'm homeless. If I don't pay the bills, the lights go off. It's like I've got to do it all. People are like, oh, you should stop more. Yeah. Problem with that is I don't have a partner to pick up the slack when I'm lying on the sofa saying I can't go on. So what choice have you got? What choice have you got? It's either this or Cardboard City, right? And I'm not ready for Cardboard City. It's too cold out there, and I need at least 2 pillows. So this week, like I said, is this video is for a reminder for you guys out there. If you do feel a bit stressed and a bit knackered and a bit kind of overwhelmed by stuff, see if you can take a bit of time off. I'm not talking like a week away. I'm talking about a holiday, because I can't afford a holiday either. Even if it's like a couple of hours to just sit and do almost nothing. Give your brain time to cool down for a second. If you run a locomotive constantly, you're going to ruin the engine. You might get somewhere, but at the end of the day, you mash your engine up, and it won't be any good to carry on. Occasionally, you need to slow down or stop or have a rest. So that's kind of what I'm doing this weekend. So what I am going to do, obviously regarding the Marvin kit, I'm going to wash the parts today. There's no point in filming it and covering it. It's just sink full of warm water and some fairy liquid. Give them all a wee scrub with a little brush, and put them out to dry somewhere. That's all I'm going to do, because there's not much to do with those pieces. You just glue it together and paint it. So I'm just going to do it properly and wash them. And that's a very stress-free, painless thing. I will add that with things like the spaceship set that needs to be made upstairs, I've had offers from a couple of friends to come round in a week or two's time. Is it a week or two? Maybe three weeks or something like that, to help me do the majority of the assembly, which is great. I'd rather have friends help me get it right. Many hands make light work, etc. Rather than trying it right now and making a noise and making a mess and ruining it. And there's no major rush. As long as I get it built this year, I'll be happy. And again, the deadlines are enforced on me. Regarding Off-World Survivors, there is a little bit of news which I'll mention it now, because I will be asked this later at a number of occasions in different places and stuff, and I want to explain things now. I've been when I thought of writing Off-World Survivors and making it to celebrate the 10-year anniversary of shooting Off-World, I wondered if I could get a couple, not a lot, but just a couple of actors from the previous film, the first film, to make cameos. I can't go into the plot too much. I don't want to spoil the film plot-wise, but I thought some of the most important characters or actors I wanted to bring back had a good reason to come back. So I reached out to Danny, who played Jan in the first film, and I also reached out to Tom Ingham. If you've been following the social media for Off-World Survivors on Facebook and Instagram, kids, Tom is already confirmed, because Tom played a character called Chris Erickson, who was my co-pilot in the film, and because his character didn't last too long in the film, without trying to spoil it too much, I felt it would be nice to sort of give him a little bit more to do in this film. I found a way of doing it. And obviously Danny's character, Jan, she was the lead character in the first film. And I think any film like Off-World Survivors, which is kind of a mini sequel, does need to have that thread or that involvement of Jan, at least where she is, what she's doing, that kind of thing. However, after a couple of months of the offer being on the table, Danny's got back to me and told me that she, much like me, has a to-do list longer than her arms, and she just can't commit to doing stuff like that, to doing more on Off-World Survivors. And I totally get it. I totally understand. I mean, the offer was there. I made the offer. I didn't want her to feel excluded, but at the same time, I didn't want her to feel forced to do anything. I also offered Gavin Rand, who played uh, John Park, and he said he's actually taking a break from acting to focus on his stand-up comedy career, um, and he wants to do Edinburgh Festival. So cool, absolutely. There's many reasons why you can't do a film. I didn't want anyone to come to me later on down the line and say, would it be better with Gavin in it? Would it have been better with Jan in it? These kind of things. But everyone's got their reason for wanting to be involved or not wanting to be involved. Quite frankly, I don't blame you if you don't want to be involved. Offworld's got a weird reputation. It's a very low budget film. It managed to get a really good sort of wide release around the world on streaming platforms. So it's made us no money, but it's also brought some of the trolls out of the woodwork going, it's the worst film ever. One of the best ones was on Rotten Tomatoes. Someone said if I was in a coma and I woke up and this was playing on the TV, I'd ask to be put back under again. I was like, well, you don't need the nurse to put you back under. The film will do it for you. But as I said many times, it's not a $200 million dollar blockbuster. We never said it was. It was a learning curve for everyone. I had to learn how to write, I had to learn how to direct, and you could argue that I didn't learn very much. I have learned quite a lot, actually. You learn more from your mistakes than you do from your successes. But again, people are judging it as if it's the latest Denis Villeneuve masterpiece, when it clearly isn't. One of the reviews, oh my goodness, it said you can see they've clearly shot it in Pennsylvania. I was like, I wish I could have had the budget to shoot in Pennsylvania. It was shot in Park Penalta. I know the spelling is similar, but no. Anyway, as I went to Nerdcraft last weekend, a small festival up in sort of convention type thing in Merthyr Tydfil, I bumped into very prolific TikToker and social media entertainer, funny guy, Dean Morris, known as Dinosaur. And I've known Dean for quite a bit. We don't hang out or anything like that. In fact, we very rarely talk, which is a shame because he's a really nice guy. But I managed to interview him about his TikTokery, and we brought up this phrase as we were talking: the world is currently on fire, and he's right. And he said, which I heartily agree with, that in a world at the moment where everything feels oppressive, there's people arguing on both sides. You've got the left arguing with the right arguing with the left, and I admit that I'm probably more left-leaning than I am centrist. I'm not a full-on fundamental wokey nut job, but at the same time, I'm certainly not right-wing. I just want to be a good human, I want to care about the people I can care about, and I want to ignore people who I reckon are toxic and bad and horrible and frankly wrong. And there's other things that I can't change, like world politics. I can't change that. I know we can all do our bit kind of thing, but I can't change, what I can't stop a war in the Middle East or in Ukraine or anywhere like that. There's certain things a lot of us can't do, and we all feel the pressure that these wars and stuff are going on, and there's injustices going on, and there's governments finding even more ways to milk us of what little money and time and stress we have left, and it's overwhelming, isn't it? And like Dean said, the world is on fire. So is there anything we can do personally to keep your own spirits up and maybe spread a little happiness to other people by making very bad low budget sci-fi movies, for example, silly little Batman fan dubs? There's nothing wrong with that, and that's a good thing. But some days, if you're not a creative person who's thinking of ideas to do this and this, we've got to relax. We've got to relax. doom scrolling is a horrible thing. You know, doom scrolling, you're going through your phone at night. Sometimes you're just going through the same old websites. But doom scrolling in its proper sense is looking for bad news in a way, sort of subconsciously going, oh, what terrible things have happened this week. It's like people who are addicted to EastEnders, you know. What bad things are happening to people right now, you know. It doesn't do you any good. It doesn't do the old noggin any good. So I'm going to stop talking in a sec. I've talked for far too long, but I did want to do a video where I sit and talk this week with a couple of little drop-ins. Because I should be doing stuff, and I could be using this time to, you know, because that's the thing. Your brain's always going, you shouldn't even be doing this. You should be doing the work, and then you'll have less to complain about. But sometimes you're physically and mentally knackered. What a lot of people don't realize, if you're not an artist or a creator, and you employ artists or creators, you may occasionally find yourself thinking, well, it's easy for them. You know, I once had someone say to me, well, look, at the end of the day, what you do isn't a skill, is it? Because, you know, you find it easy. You just switch it on and you draw stuff and you create it. It's not a skill. I would say, yes, it is. Yes, it is a skill. And for sake of argument, the person who designed this little glass candle holder jobby, yeah, it looks like a very simple thing. But a lot of thought went into that. And thought can be taxing. And it sounds a bit weird, but imagine your job is not so much doing, but thinking. Imagine you're a defense solicitor, defense attorney. A lot of that is mental work, and that can be tiring. Your brain gets tired the same as your body. When you're drawing, you're thinking all the time. You're thinking back on everything you've ever drawn. The best way to do this, the best way to do that, and there's self-doubt. Have I done this wrong? Have I done this right? There's a lot going on up here. It's not just like switch off and just draw on autopilot. There's a lot to do. And it is frustrating for me. I do a lot of drawing every day of my life, and I look back at the stuff and I go, how did that take so long? But it does. The process does take that long, because until you've actually decided this is finished, you're still wondering, what else can I do? How can I make this thing work all the way from start to finish? And then you stop and go, oh, right. So if weirdly I could jump into a time machine and see a book that I've already illustrated and go, so that's what it's going to look like at the end, life would be a lot easier, because all the thinking's been done for me. I just draw. I just copy the one from the future. But that's not how it works, unfortunately. When you start off with a giant block of marble and a chisel and you go, ew, ting, right, that doesn't look like a person. Ting, 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 still doesn't look like a person. You just got to keep going, and you don't know when you finish. It just happens. Anyway, I'm at the 30-minute mark. I'm going to stop talking. If you're still here, I would invite you to prove that you're still here by mentioning the magic word down in the comments. The magic word I want you to mention is caffeine. So I'll know that you've got here. And if you have got here, thank you for sticking with me. I hope some of the weird stuff I said has made sense, and I hope from a very senseless, well, it's all senseless. From a very selfish point of view, I hope it's given you a little bit of an insight into how and why and where and when I do my work, and that it's not all plain sailing. But I'm also trying not to whinge, because I'm quite grateful that a lot of people, that I can make a living out of what I do. Not a very good living, I grant you, but I'm staying afloat, just about. But if you know, not looking at the selfish point of view, but if you're feeling a bit overwhelmed and the world is definitely getting on your nerves, because it's getting on my nerves, with no sign of letting up, unfortunately, just do your best. do your best to look after yourself. I'm not saying do your best to work yourself into an early grave. Do your best to look after yourself. If you've got people you care about, do your best for them. And even if you haven't got many people in your life, like me, I do have a couple of friends, but I don't have a lot of people in my circle. Just look after yourself, because you can't pour from an empty cup. And talking of which, I'm going to boil a kettle and make a very big cup of coffee, and then I'm going to wash some model kit parts. So, don't forget the magic word in the comments below, caffeine. And I will see you next week, hopefully, with some more normal stuff, the bit more interesting show and tell stuff, okay? I promise. I'll try and pull the stops out for next week. Take care now. Bye-bye then.